Thank you both so much for speaking to me. This show is amazing, and I love the fact that it connects. So, what I want to talk to you first about is balancing creating something that is original, but also this is a prequel. So, there has to be some kind of connections. How do you go about finding that equal balance to bringing something that's just not a rehash?
We always Gina and I always looked at the success. Part of the huge success of the original NCIS is the familial nature between the agents and really what's happening in between the cracks. And people really, glommed onto episodes where you dove into certain characters. Those are the episodes that Gina and I tended to write. So we thought we could find kind of that NCIS magic by leaning into that, but even going further with it. So our show is, the cases are super important, and we want to tell, fun episodic cases, whodunits, but it's really each week we're diving into these characters. Who are the people that are solving the crimes and learning a lot more about them? So that's more the balance. And we knew going into it, the primary goal for Gina and I was, let's write a show that if you've never seen NCIS, you can watch this show and really experience it and love it and never feel like you missed anything. But if you did, if you're a big fan of NCIS, great. You're going to experience it a different way and learn more about these characters and say, oh, wow, that really filled this hole. But that was our goal going into it.
Right. So, can you also talk about the importance of Lala? That kind of took me by surprise in terms of you're crafting her story as well. So, it is NCIS origins. Do you feel that we took it like instead of it being just about one character, it's a sprinkle about everyone and their origin story?
That's right. Yeah, we had a big discussion about that in the writers' room at some point. But yes, it definitely started out as what is Gibbs' origin story, and we felt that we owed that to the fans to show we knew these big events that had happened in his life, but what were the cracks? Like David said, what happened in between to lead to those? But at the same time, we have this amazing ensemble, some incredibly talented actors, and we wanted to service them as well. And we have all of their characters who also have origin stories, as we all do. So that enabled us to really start to branch out and delve deeper into our ensemble as a whole, as opposed to just the Gibbs character.
Can you tease any other origin stories that we may see?
Well, this week, our next episode, which is a week from today, we will get a peek into the life of Mary Jo, which we are extremely excited about. She is a fan favorite. She's a favorite of ours.
Mhm.
Isla, who plays her, is an absolute powerhouse. So you've seen her shine in episodes. Everybody loves her. But to get her to get her to a place where she was front and center in an episode, it was just really a thrilling experience for all of us. We're so excited for you guys to see it.
And if the fan base is at all like my mom, the fan base is going to be like, "What took them so long? We want to know more about this character, about this one." I mean, my mom comes out here to visit from Indiana, Dana, and both times she's missed Tyla, who plays Mary Jo, and she's devastated. She's by far her favorite, and I think that's a lot of America feels that way.
But we also have other episodes coming up as well. We'll delve deeper into Vera and Wheeler. So we have some fun ones coming up.
Yay. Okay, so then with that also, we have to talk about the Trish and Franks. That was we know that it's going to be heartbreaking and sad and tragic, but starting off with so much hope, and then what to me it felt like what a varying trauma, and then when you have Gibbs going in and possibly speaking to the VA, I mean the sorry the sorry the therapy group.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about him kind of finding light as opposed to versus burying trauma that we've seen with Trish and Franks and how that ends up kind of, we know, separates them and it ends the relationship.
The Gibbs that we've always the OG NCIS always saw was someone who just shoved it all down, the emotion down, and really just trudged through and tried to do right day by day, despite what he'd been through and that he'd never really healed. We're seeing earlier on the journey that young Gibbs was on in trying to heal. Um, So it's, as far as going to the VA and to therapy, this is his, despite everything he's been through, he's doing all he can to be a better man and come out of this on the other end. So I guess we'll see what happens.
And as far as Frank's and Tish, we're seeing really the origin of Frank's relationship with Gibbs as well, and how important that is, where it started, and why they were so close in the OG show when we first encountered Frank's. So understanding how they related to each other in these earlier years, I think is really informative to who they became to each other in later years. And you can see they really depend on each other in an interesting kind of way. I think it's a relationship that we don't see often on television today. So again, it's one that we're really excited to continue to explore.
Gibbs to me comes across as someone with a superhero complex. And both of so can you talk about kind of building that in the relation of the other characters, the ensemble of him always wanting to come in and save the day, and kind of breaking that down into realizing he's still a human at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think Gibbs does. I mean, especially, at this point, he's finding his footing, and we know the kind of agent that he's going to become. But at this point, he's still learning, and that's why we've seen him so often, get himself into situations where maybe he's overstepped or maybe he doesn't. He needs to learn. I mean, even just recently we had him ask, what should I do? Like, these are questions that, you're not used to seeing from the stars of the show, or, but it's for Gibbs, it's his, he's a probie agent and finding his way.
I think it also goes to the tone of the show that we're putting forth. And in the OG show, it's a bit more, these characters are superheroes in a certain way in their own lane. And we were really more interested in exploring their flaws, their humanity. And I think that's made for some really interesting stories.
Also, what I love is also this is more emotional than the original series. Can you talk about kind of creating? I was wondering, writing from emotion first as opposed to story. Can you talk about kind of the differences with that, and why making this series so emotional was you felt the way to go?
David's looking at me because I'm an extremely emotional person. So I do enjoy putting a lot of emotion into stories because to me that's why I want to write, to make people feel something and make them maybe feel like they're not so alone. And so it is really important for us to put that emotion in every story, and it does affect the way that we break story. We can come up with a great case, but we're always asking, what does this mean to our characters? How is it affecting our characters? Because if it has great twists and turns, that's one thing, and that's wonderful in storytelling. But if it's not affecting our characters emotionally, then we're missing a whole layer of storytelling. And so we try to make sure that in each episode, it's firing on all of those cylinders.
We want to be true to the characters and tell stories that exactly what Gina just said, that's going to, as long as it's honest, make the audience feel something. When Tish left Frank's, the end of episode 13, I think it is. And the next day I was in some meeting with Kevin McKnight, our director of photography, and there was some backlash on Twitter. Why are they broke? This is what, why would she do that? And Kevin McKnight said, he just said, make them feel something. I love it. You make the audience feel something. So often we watch TV and we experience something and then we forget about it. I think when people are going on to Twitter or wherever and saying, are that emotionally charged, we did something right, especially when we know we didn't do it to upset them. We did it because we thought that was the path that those characters, the true path that they would take.
Are you always writing or creating in terms of what led to this major moment and what when it came to the main NCIS, or is it more of the little moments that we may not have paid attention to?
It
It's
just
both.
depends. Yeah, go ahead, Gina.
No, you go. It's both though. Yeah.
Yeah, it just depends on what, there's certain things in canon that we know happened here in this in Gibbs' life or even in Frank's life, and we work to, or we do stay true to that, and then we try to maybe reveal something in a different way in those situations, but otherwise most of the time we're just making stuff up, if we don't have to obey the canon, we're just in there making
It's
stuff.
sometimes though it'll be like a line, like there was a line in the OG show that said that someone was pulled off the case off Gibbs' family, and we thought, well, what if that's Randy? So even just a line sometimes can feed a story in a really interesting way.
Right, which turned into
Wonderful.
a whole episode, turned into all of
Yeah,
episode 8, where we learned that Randy was, asked off the detail that then the protection detail in which Gibbs' family was murdered. We just knew in
right,
NCIS canon that there was an agent that had asked off that, and we just.
right. And then there's another line, one line that references Frank's having a brother. So
Mhm.
yeah, we got to run with that. So yeah, it is an interesting challenge for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to me. Excellent series,
Yeah.
as always. So
Oh,
Thank
thank
that's so
you.
nice. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Dana.
Nice to meet
You
you.
too.